All right, we gonna hop into the first episode of the I said first episode of this quote unquote second season of this manga podcast. Wow, podcast. This is episode 11, so I guess every 10 episodes will quote unquote be on the next season type beat. But yeah, let's we have a lot to talk about today. A couple of interesting topics. And I did want to say this. I think a couple of times what we'll do. Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you. I think what we'll do, if something significant happens in anything that we're all reading too, we might have like an impromptu episode where we kind of just talk about that specific series or whatever the case is.
A little something like eeny, meeny, right from the beginning. Smoke a little pack, but the pack never timid. Church, but I'm seeing it. Curse when I'm winning. She need a new back. When it's back, I'ma bend it. Slap up some guinea. Ask me to hit it. Watch a nigga black slipper yak, I'ma quit it. Swerve in the Benzie. Perfume is Fendi. Bob and move fast, real fast like I'm Ricky. That's 'cause I'm pretty. Came from the dirt. Shovel up a nigga can't handle the work. Ooh, y'all, swing with it first. Young white girl like a ram.
I'm joined by Gintoki Lizard. Yes, sir. Talk to the people. Oh, let me turn them up a little bit. Then we already know the Red Witch of all, the GOAT, Simi. Let's talk to him. Hey. And the Haram detective himself, Vincent Venitas.
What's up, guys? Y'all already heard me earlier. I was talking, but.
But yeah, we're gonna hop into the episode. Thank you for this. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. And well, did you want to continue what you were talking about with QQ at all, or were you good? Because first question,
I'll just give like a basic of what I was talking about. So basically, what I'm doing is I did some polls on Twitter, and I'm still reading One Piece, but I'm trying to figure out a better way of going about it because it's kind of difficult with the way my school schedule and the way life's going right now. It's been a lot of unfortunate things getting in the way of me reading that, so I kind of want to take a small break on that too and kind of try to jump on something different. So I'm reading QQ, not by my own choice technically, but I wanted to revisit something that I didn't really like that, and I had like 4 manga. It was like Sundome, QQ, Holy Land, and I forgot what the other fucking thing was. But I had a poll on it, and I let the fucking Twitter pick, and they picked QQ. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna reread QQ, and I have a fucking thread of it on Twitter. It's my pen right now, and I'm using that to help me like better analyze things. And I want to do more threads on Twitter. So yes, I'm be a semi-essay merchant on Twitter for a while because sometimes I just like breaking down stuff and using it for like future stuff with my writing and stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to talk about like more things. Cause I feel like a lot of people when they read things, especially on Twitter, and even though it shouldn't be that hard, like. They have a hard time telling you, A, what the plot of something is, and B, what are the themes of that fucking shit that you're reading. Because, like, I don't care if you hate a manga. I don't care if you dislike it. Like, everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has their own reasons for whatever.
Hello? All right, my bad.
Yeah. All right, you're back. All right. But, yeah, but it's just, like, sometimes I feel like people read things or dislike things, and they don't, not that they don't even have a good reason, because you can have any reason, but like, don't lie. Like I said, my biggest thing always when I ask something, don't lie to me. Or like, if you can't come up with a reason, you just be like, I just don't like that shit. It just don't hit with me. That's fine. Don't sit there and try to sound smart and lie, because you're lying. And that's fucking stupid. If you don't know what you're talking about, just say you don't know what you're talking about. And get help on it. And I'm just here to try to like expand on reasons why I like something or reasons why I don't like something. And that's what I've mostly been trying to do. So yeah, I'm reading One Piece and QQ. So that's what I'm doing right now.
What about you, Lizard? What are you reading right now or watching? Anything new? What's up, Mikey?
Yeah, I just finished my reread of this this manga called Kono Oto Tomare. It's like a music manga, and I like loved it. So I'm like in between the manga in a way, but yeah, my next series I'm gonna start like pretty soon is Diamond No Ace Act 2.
Woo!
Because I've been excited for that. And then in anime, it's just Gintama rewatch, like usual. And yeah, that's all I've been on.
I can respect that. Mr. Simi, talk to the people, man. What you been reading and watching?
Y'all know what the fuck I'm doing. I am bound by chains known as obligation. Anime One Piece, Manga JoJo.
Woo! Love to see it. Been enjoying it though. I see you. You're on a whole cake now, right?
See,
You're just having a good time. We love to see it. What about you guys in chat? What are you guys reading? QQ, I heard Satsuki reads that. Sorry, I'm eating candy. Give me a second.
2 pieces of candy.
Speaking of manga, I'm actually reading Hakusho for the first time. Okay. That's interesting. What's up, Pure Life? Simbi is ascending. We're going back to his roots. As for me, I didn't pick up anything new. It's just pretty much the same, all usual. Yeah, whatever you see, we talk about. So what? I read My Hero because East has a gun to my head. Shit. I read Jujutsu Kaisen on Sundays. Well, obviously One Piece, JoJo every month, and Golden Kamuy. I don't really read anything else like that, but obviously Kubera, and that's really about it.
Oh shit, I forgot about fucking My Hero. Yeah, I'm caught up to that. So
Yeah, he back in that. He did a Crows read not too long ago.
And the fucking Kuroko.
Kuroko. Stay tuned for that. We'll be doing something cool. But yeah, I don't know what to read next. I feel that. I'm reading Golden Kamuy and Berserk. That's what's up. I'm reading nothing. Caught up to Golden Kamuy recently. I'm actually probably a couple chapters behind in that. Definitely. Probably like maybe four. I caught up, but I haven't read it since I caught up. Well, Mikey, I feel like you're reading everything. Watched in terms of reading, but I'm reading through Fate. No, Fate counts. I know you read that. I think you're watching it now. Usoguya. I heard that's pretty good. Kenshin? Okay. You know, thing aside, Kenshin is a good series. I like Kenshin a lot. I know what happened, but it's good. But alright. Let's do our thing. Alright, so I actually have a pretty interesting question for you guys off the bat immediately. You don't have to necessarily, go through all three. You could just pick one of whatever the case, but in terms of whatever your favorite manga, anime, and or webtoon, what's the most misunderstood thing about your favorite series, you would say? That you think a lot of people get wrong or don't really pick up on? Maybe they just misinterpret. What would you say that is?
Oh man, that's funny. The rest of the niggas go first.
You go first, bro. Go ahead.
No,
I can go first then.
Okay.
I think. So obviously, mine is Gintama, and there's a lot of things misunderstood about it. But I think the comedy in that is really misunderstood. Like, first of all, I mean, we know it's jokes, but a lot of people think that Gintama's comedy is just like 90% references. Though, even though I think, I know the main crux of their comedy is more of a straight man routine between the characters rather than what is that called? Instead of references, and also just they think that the comedy is an extra side to them. They just think it's something that's put on top of everything else instead of being a main component of the series. I also blame Gintama fans for saying stuff like, you get through the first 300. When you get to the series arcs, you'll love the series.
I also feel like a lot of Gintama fans did themselves a bit of a disservice, because I think it came a point, if it was to get you to read this, if I have to tell you to skip all the unserious arcs, I'm willing to make that compromise. I felt like a lot of them did that, which I would never do. Just don't read it then. Yeah. Fuck you. that's my opinion. that's just what I think.
No, that's exactly how I feel. If you don't like the comedy, drop it, because at the end of the day, at Gintama's core, it's comedy manga. As much of it, it's as much of a action manga as it is, it's also a comedy manga. But people try to say that comedy is extra, whatever. You can skip the episodes and stuff like that. Then they wonder why the series arcs don't hit as hard, because the comedy arcs episodes, as funny as they are, they also set up the characters that make you feel more connected to them, so the series arcs hit. And yeah, that's probably the most misunderstood thing about Gintama.
That's a great answer. And to add to that, because to piggyback off that, because one thing about people that misunderstand the comedy quote unquote section, because I always tell people, they're like, oh, what's your favorite arc? I'm like, any arc with the Shogun. That shit, that nigga is so funny, bro. I should be dying all out there. All my favorite arcs are not the serious ones. Not that they're not good. That being said, it's kind of the same way I feel like people misunderstand the beginning of Katekyoshi Hitman Reborn, where they think it's just like, oh, so it's not important. The real story starts here, and it's like you're not gonna get the actual the gratification and payoff that you really would get because you don't actually understand the characters, the world, how they operate, their relationship, how it's grown to that point, why it's changing when the arcs get serious. All of those things are a factor. So you kind of just skipping over that, you lose that. You want instant gratification. When does it get good? When can I start One Piece in Enies lobby? No, you loser. Go to chapter 1. What the fuck is wrong with you? So I feel you on that. Send me a venture. You guys gonna answer, yeah or no?
Oh, I mean, you ain't on me. I got a mouthful to say.
That's why you need to go.
Nigga.
Go.
You don't want to play a game that we both not gonna say nothing.
Hell, you ain't gotta be like that, Slim. But all right, fuck it, I'll go. It's fine. He knew he was gonna win out. Terrible human being. No, boy. But no, I mean for me, I mean it's really hard to say because my favorite ending, my favorite series are two
Good
things
ending.
that is good ending. So it's like manga wise, I don't know if there's a lot of misconceptions because one, more people got to read it. That's number one.
Good ending is raw though, by the way. That shit is
and
fire.
number two, I feel like to me, the reason I rate that series so highly is that I feel like yes, it still does a lot of the shit that Japanese manga tend to do with some of the perverted gags and some of the dumbass shit that wouldn't happen in real life, except for apparently in their culture or their manga. But I feel like there is a level of just maturity and touching on real life topics that is just way higher than most of those other romances. Just for me, it's just a way higher level. Like talking about like sexual assault, depression, stuff like that, and not in this super edgy, dark ways, like in a real life perspective, real life way, so shit that would actually happen. And then liking somebody, it not working out, going to somebody else that you had feelings for in the past, trying to work that. It just scenarios like that, and that's all the shit that makes it real. It felt like some shit I could actually relate to, something that I actually went through. And if I talk about my other favorite series, anime wise, is Death Note, or other than One House, because like I said, that's messy. But I'm just going for mainstream answer, so I'm gonna go with Death Note. As I've gotten older, I've gained a stronger appreciation for the second half. Nobody will agree. I mean, everybody will agree that the second half obviously is not as good as the first half. But I still feel like the second half did its job, and the reason I still rate it highly is that because it still didn't abandon the theme of the story, and it didn't abandon like its like integrity. So even though it wasn't as high, I still rated it 10 because it didn't disregard that aspect of the story. Because it's just like what happened was supposed to happen. We might have not liked how it happened, but it was supposed to happen.
Okay. I'll go so Simi can go last, but I'll go next, and I'll give you something for each thing. So I was on Monogatari. This one's easy. I don't like the discourse around the series, but misconception really comes from the outside looking in, where most people just think it's just like weird harem with like some fucked up like siscon toothbrush scene, and everyone just kind of talks about the girl. So from the outside looking in, this just seems like some series where people just do like waifu wars. You get what I'm saying, right? So I hate that's kind of the rap that Monogatari gets, and there's some other jokes I'm not gonna make for obvious reasons, but you know. Tower of God, misconception. It's not even a misconception, but it's that the world building is overrated. That's all. I'm gonna leave it at that. And One Piece, I mean, I don't know where to start with One Piece, so I don't know if you're gonna bother. I could attack so many different places in One Piece, so let's just leave it there. Simi, talk to him.
Talk to them. You want me to talk to them?
Talk to these
10
niggas!
years, I have been suffering. For over 10 years, my face has been dragged through the mud, the soil, the earth. For 10 years, I was not allowed happiness. What are some misconceptions of my favorite series? where do I begin? One of them being that it's a porn game, which somehow means that the second that you have sex in a series, that it automatically means that it's whack, even though the timeline be standard series that has a bunch of sex in it left and right.
Yep.
And even though every single adaptation of said series has not adapted said sex at all, and every single re-release of its source material has completely removed all essence of sex in it, or maybe the fact that it's quote-unquote convoluted or complicated when it's not at all. There are 3 mainline entries of this one specific world, and everything else is just a spin-off.
Yep.
Or the fact that there's no substance, it's just cool fights and the story's whack. Or the fact that the characters are that the characters are quote unquote garbage and nobody understands why they doing shit. Or the fact that the story quote unquote bends and shapes to the will of the MC so he could win. God help me, y'all. Yes, everybody, I am clearly talking about good old Fate Stay Night. All things that I've been dealing with since fucking 2007. And
I feel his pain. For other series, not this one, but I feel his pain. We live the same life for different series. Oh man.
It's just, I don't know, man. I just really don't know where to begin. You know, for the starters, the whole sex thing, as I already said, right? Each adaptation of Fate Stay Night has never implemented any of the HCs at all. That's number 1. Number 2, it is easily arguable that the 8 scenes are no longer canon because, as I stated, every single release of the visual novel after the original CD and DVD release, well, I should say, my bad, every single release of the visual novel, starting from the PS2 port, Real Tenua, has completely removed all instances of H. And number 3, as I said, there are numerous series where folks stand it because it has exactly that. Tokyo Ghoul, I'm looking at you.
So that mid-ass scene with Reed? That shit was trash.
Oh my god. Yeah, and it's just like, it's so baffling to me. And that this is a completely different can of worms. This is a completely different can of worms I'm not going to get into. You know, the whole freaking... It for H to exist in a series, it must have some deep emotional more meaning to it, otherwise it's automatically trashed.
Sometimes I'm young
But just
and I'm trying to beat some cheese. What are you talking about?
Y'all be standing same series for one of the aspects that there be freaking H in it. And then turn around and then pull this shit for how many years on my favorite thing. And it's just, man, listen, I have been on the receiving end of an endless barrage of bullets for how many years? So, it's just, I don't know, man. And then the thing with, you know, the thing that the fucking stories convoluted, complicated, this, that, and the third, that Fate is nothing but freaking bitches, quote unquote. It's just, I could write a whole fucking paper on it, man. I'm numb. We'll just say that. I'm numb. So
there comes a point where you can't even. You're just over it.
Luckily for me, nobody fucking reads Kanika, man. They don't know what it fucking is either, so I don't have to deal with that. However, if they did, it'll be the same exact thing that freaking One Piece fans go through. The fact that it's long, that's number 1. It has a bunch of fucking chapters, so there's no substance and whatnot. It's too long.
The pacing bad.
And then number 2, the same fact that it at its heart, it's a gag series, so comedy will always be the central focus folk would be complaining about that. And then, and at number 3, they would have a huge issue with fucking the friendship power in it. But we already freaking answered the fucking mystery to that cat box.
They should have. Yeah, they should have. What they should do is realize where all of the stuff that you see nowadays is where it actually originated from. I really didn't expect to like it as much as I ended up liking it. She was absolutely phenomenal.
I keep telling y'all, freaking old head mangakas, they just different. Like, they just have a completely different air to how they write and construct stories. And they're in a different realm. You could argue good or bad, what may have you, but they're in a different realm from today's manga. And there's a reason why what the fuck they was doing shaped the industry for how many years after that. But everything else I like is, it's alright. There's not that many freaking misconceptions for Hari, for example. That's my favorite light novel. I mean, it was popular back in the day, and now since it's old and hasn't got an anime since like 2009 or what may have you, you niggas don't even know what the fuck it is. That's just still mind-boggling to me.
Y'all didn't go through the Endless 8?
They didn't. They played it.
Y'all didn't go through the Endless 8? Fuck y'all know about the Endless 8?
Kugan is freaking it's 700 chapters, and counting is still ongoing. By the way,
I'm gonna technically a sequel, Nisei and everything. So
yeah, it's it got revived in 2011 officially, and it's ongoing. But the original run, I believe it had somewhere in the mid 300s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty long. It's pretty lengthy.
It's so crazy because I read so many interviews after the fact, knowing that like the creative team that makes up, and you know how much reverence and so many mangaka have for them. It's crazy.
Again, you know me. I love shitting on freaking FMA. But the simple fact that she said Kinnikuman is the reason why she fucking manga today, that is you know it's really something, and it just makes me happy, you know, because A, that's my favorite series, and B, you know, we should respect for the most part, when it's good, we should respect history, you know, what the folk did before we was here, so we have the things that we have now, and you know, it's so fucking awesome, you know. Unfortunately, it didn't get a chance to shine in America the way that its companions did, like fucking Dragon Ball, for example, but in its fucking native land, yeah, the fuck, niggas know what the fuck that is.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, actually, Bree done. You think I want to add?
Nah, we good. The rest of my freaking favorites, they don't have too many fucking misconceptions.
All right. So, I was talking earlier today a little bit about like staples and tropes and stuff, and the main question here is essentially, I'm gonna ask you guys if you think some manga should really start doing away with them. And the reason why I ask you this is I find that a lot of comic books that I'm reading, they're trying to get away from a lot of the tropes, but if there is one, they're trying to set you up for a subversion of that trope. Where I constantly feel like some of the newer manga that I'm reading constantly keep leaning more and more into those tropes, because of just maybe it's a cultural thing, which that's just something that just works down there in Japan. They just eat it up type beat. Like maybe something like the themes of friendships, or like your dere characters, Kyurei, Yandere, Tsundere, whatever the case. Because you know me, I hate all that shit. I can't stand the dere classification. I hate that shit. The only trope I've ever really liked was like the Ojo-sama trope. That shit makes me laugh. And they're like the quote unquote rival badass character type B. You know, your Kenpachi, Vegetas, and your Escanors, whatever you want to call them. You know, that kind of trope. Those are like the only two that I really care about. But ultimately, do you think it's inherently a good or bad thing, or you can't really judge that? You have to see how it's played out in the story. What would you guys say?
Let's go first.
Damn.
In front of the mic.
No, I'll say it's a case by case scenario, because Yeah, sure. Like a lot of tropes can be overused, and they can be, like that you can tell the author just being lazy and just like they'll like tsundere. They'll be like they'll use a tsundere class, and then they'll use that and replace them actually writing their personality because people they know what a tsundere is. And as soon as they see that, they're like, oh, that's what this kind of character is, and it can make them lazy in a kind of way, if you know what I mean. But I still think it's case by case because there's certain cases where I feel like and how it's executed. Like we're talking about friendship, right? Like a friendship trope or like friendship thing. Like sometimes it can be executed like horror, like it could be super cheesy, super cheesy, and it's just nauseous. But other times you can just be like, yeah, this is executed really well. And it just depends on that's my answer. But the cop out answer, but yeah, it's basically how it's executed and how it's used in the story, and if it's not used to just replace actual writing. And yeah.
Thank you, Lizard. That's why I had to make you go first because I'm finna pound my fist on this table. So I had to make sure you got to say whatever you wanted to say.
Oh, now if you go pound your fist, allow me.
Yeah, you go. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I think I might have a surprising freaking answer to this. I don't mind tropes at all. I'm in the same boat as freaking Siamese. I think it's more of case by case. I don't start fuming when I see them. However, I do feel like they should mix it up and not rely on the same exact tropes for like a whole era pretty much. I think they should start leaning more on older tropes and whatnot, kind of like, it's not fucking the realm of anime and manga, unfortunately, but kind of like, back in the day of older JRPGs and whatnot, where they had the trope of, oh, one of your party members is going to be the granddaughter of a very famous inventor or what may have you, and they control like a fucking mech or use explosives type beat. You don't see that trope at all anymore in JRPGs today. And I feel like if they just mixed it up, use tropes from different eras and whatnot, and not rely on the same exact gimmicks back to back to back, it wouldn't feel so freaking mind numbing. But yeah, I don't really fucking mind tropes like that. Of course, there are some really bad fucking examples, and then there are times where creators, authors, they do cool things with them. But I personally, I'm just
Mr. Vincent Vanitas? Oh, okay, I can go. I mean, I guess their answer is right, but I'll say I don't like them on average. You'd have to if you don't do something interesting with it, I might be able to tune it out depending on what it is. I feel like I'm somewhat fair with it, right? Like, let's say I'm reading something and this manga came out in like 1985, but I'm seeing a trope that I see commonly today. I'm not gonna beat up a 1985 manga for a trope that's getting abused today in 2021. You know what I'm saying? So I keep my wits about me depending on the story that I'm reading. I don't just be like, oh, here we fucking go. You have a yandere, lead or whatever the fuck. But nah, I'm not a fan of it. Because the thing about me is the thing that I kind of crave the most right now, and I guess you could say storytelling, is something that's refreshing. I understand everything to some degree is derivative. We can get into that conversation sooner or later about like originality and whatnot. But my biggest problem, I think, with a lot of contemporary stories that I read from all mediums, so even if it's a game I'm playing or something I'm watching, I find that a lot of these newer teens or whatever the fuck, they read a bunch of other manga and then make a manga. You know what I'm saying? So like, their series a lot of times comes off to me very uninspired. For example, Black Clover. I think Black Clover is extremely uninspired. Whether you like it or not is up to you. To me, it comes off as one of the most derivative manga I've seen in a long time. It feels like there's a checkbox of Shonen Jump battle manga tropes we must do, and they're just going through the list. You know what I'm saying? Checkmark. Okay. Screaming, hyperactive knucklehead main character. Bada boom, bada bing. Like they're just checking shit off. That's kind of how I feel about it. So, part of the reason why I probably jump around from so many eras and medias and stuff is so I don't fucking get stale with all that stuff. It's really, 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 it's frustrating for me. Especially, like, I could get into something new and, like, a minute in, I see something that happens in, like, every anime I've ever seen ever, and I'll just turn it off. I'll just turn it off. Like, bro, no, I'm good on this. So, that's just me. But I can't say it's inherently a bad thing. Execution is key. So that's my answer. Go ahead, Vince.
All right, well, y'all said all the nice things about it. So what I'm about to tell y'all is fuck tropes. Fuck all that. I can't trust the Japanese to do this anymore. So I'm throwing that shit out the window because I'm so tired of copy and paste. That's all these niggas do. Yeah. They see something get popular and they just copy and paste it. Isekai, copy and paste. Fucking Exorcist, copy and paste. I can't do this shit anymore, dude. I can't do this shit anymore. Like, and the thing is though, too, is that they don't even try to present it in a different way. They don't give me characters with any different character designs. They don't give me a different setting. They don't give me a fucking any type of like, oh, I'ma like divulge in this trope a little bit deeper or something like that with like more fucking like great dialogue or anything. It's like, no, all this shit is copy and paste. I can't do this shit anymore, dude. I can't do it. So if I'm gonna have to just say, I just rather them completely throw all the fucking tropes out the window and let's just start back over. Let's just reset like a fucking Marvel DC comic. Let's just reset the entire universe and let's just act like none of that shit from the 90s that got popular, like Evangelion or any of that ever happened, and let's just start over. Because we need niggas who gonna be creative, who don't think they need to follow a pattern to be popular. And it's not all their fault. Yeah, I'm not blaming all the authors, especially like in Japan, for example, because America, we have way more freedom when it comes to some of that stuff. And it's not like every genre and every place doesn't have tropes, right? So that's not what I'm saying. But when it comes particularly to manga, I really just want to throw out all those rules of what they think makes shit popular, because them doing that means everybody is just copying each other, and it ain't working. And I can't do this shit no more, dude. So I'd rather just everybody throw out whatever they want to. Just do whatever they want to do, whatever if it's a success or a failure, and we just start again. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like it's part of the reason why I can't even do this anymore. Sometimes where it's like I pick up a manga, I'm like, bro, here we go. I just put it down. I'm like, bro, it's almost like. I used to always say, like, when I was in my biggest slice of life phase, and I like slice of life manga and shit, I don't care. Like, you don't have to be fighting. I'll have a good time as long as shit's good and entertaining. I could literally copy and paste characters from multiple series. Like, oh, there's the student body president. There's the VP. There's the calm, cool, collected genius. That's the hyper over. Like, bro, are y'all serious? This is the same fucking character. Literally, like you said, copy and paste it. Jesus Christ Almighty! So yeah, I'm with you with that. Anyone else want to chime in? Fight back or no?
No, listen, I ain't fucking offended. I ain't saying it's a good thing. The freaking is they most definitely be doing the freaking copy paste gimmick too, and it's like, you know, I get it. What sells and whatnot. You trying to make a living. You need to feed yourself. You need to pay your bills type beat. And whatever the fuck else going on with freaking Japanese politics and these fucking magazines. But it do be bad. However, I don't really freaking have an issue with them. Because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe because I just flat out don't be looking at them like that.
That makes sense.
Or maybe because freaking since at my early stages of looking at our fucking four. Let's see. Anime right now. Yeah, the 4 pillars of the manga medium. I already got my favorites. I'm already satisfied with what the fuck I got. I don't need nothing else out of nobody. So whatever y'all be doing, just whatever y'all be doing, and I'm just chilling.
I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree with that.
I feel that, right? But here's the thing, right? For me, even with, let's give an example for like the big 3. I'm not a huge fan of 2 out of the big 3. But one thing I will always give all the big 3 credit for is at least they went out and attempted to do something different. Now, you can judge them by the contents of that work, whether it worked or not, but at least they had the balls to go out there and try something different. All these manga, what the fuck are we doing now? Like, we're just making Exorcist, we're making Isekai, which I don't even understand why all these niggas are making Isekai, because 1, it's not really a popular genre. It doesn't sell well. It doesn't do anything. And then 2, when they do make it, they just copy somebody else, and that hasn't worked in 14 years?
Isekai is so bad. By the third one I read, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's
I'm
that,
already
like,
out of here.
Like I was talking about earlier, like, there's that. Then there's the rom-com high school settings, and that might sell well over there. I'm pretty
Well,
sure
that's
that sells
Pat's
a lot
favorite,
better
right?
over
Because
there.
Pat loves talking about high school. You know what I'm saying? So that's just
Why
what
you
it
do my
just,
man's like that?
it just is what it is.
But-
Sales.
but it's just
We're
like,
gonna be
yeah.
too deep to reset with the money we're being invested. I feel you on that.
Because, like, for example, right, like, Tokyo Shinobi, that shit was mid, but I was at least like, oh, at least they're trying to attempt to do something different. There's ninjas in, like, this modern setting, and, like, I just don't think the writer was very good. Like, he was alright, but at least he was trying to do something different. But it's like everything that's, like, in that magazine, or just, like, new things that are coming out, it's like they ain't never gonna do shit. Now, really, they're not gonna make. Even if you say they sell, get some small time money. If you're writing, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel strongly about that because everybody doesn't do everything for the same reason, right? If I'm writing a story, I'm trying to make a mark on the industry or in history or something. I am trying to leave my mark somewhere, but I don't see the point of slaving yourself to that industry in particular and working sleepless nights and fucking having arm fucking cramps and back pain and all that, and you're not gonna leave something behind that you're gonna be happy with. Like, I could not do that. I couldn't even imagine doing that. It's not like mangaka make a shit ton of money. So if I'm gonna go out there and fucking kill myself over the dream, then I'm gonna go and make sure I leave something that's worth the fucking damn. So, like, I'm gonna leave it all out there.
I mean,
And I don't feel like they doing that.
My bad.
No, go ahead.
I don't know, Vince. Freaking all them Sekai light novels, they be freaking 20 plus volumes deep. That shit seem pretty popular to me.
I'm saying manga in particular. Light novels, that I can't particularly speak on that group of people who buy that. So yeah, that probably works, and I think the reason light novels probably work a little bit better is maybe they have some level of in-depth of characterization that is slightly better. I don't know. I don't read them enough to know. Somebody with more experience and more.
I got out of there after No
that's
Game
what
No
that
Life.
will
That
do.
was the last straw for me. That shit was whack. That shit was whack. He just like me crowd be keeping isekai on life support.
Well, because there are isekai. Like, I'm a big fan of ReZero because I feel like it does something different. I like ReZero.
I haven't actually given it a fair chance. So let's make fun of it, so I can't really speak on it.
That's fine. That's fine. I can't blame you for that because, like I said, isekai is a weak ass genre in general. There's like 3 like.
There's something.
good
There's something I
isekai
like
to
though. I like. Does Axel will count?
So which one?
Yes.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember it low key, but yeah. I mean, I actually like Axel.
If it's not their
Axel
home
counts as
world,
both
it's
freaking- Yeah, Axel World counts as both a Sekai and a freaking video game / MMO gimmick. So it actually caught two trends with one. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to add to that, I have like 2 points. Like, I do agree with Vince that they rely on the same thing with isekai. It's like almost like an endless cycle, like a self-fulfilling cycle where like you have a isekai gets popular, and then more people get onto it, and just like as more people decide, people like writers see, oh, this shit's this is popular, let me get on this, and they get on it, and then it just keeps a cycle of just people, just continually using isekai, and like or like any trope, and that shit's just not good.
I like Zero no Tsukaima. Familiar Zero.
That shit was fun. That was good. I like that series. That's a throwback though.
Yeah, I mean, you could fucking argue that it does absolutely nothing special, but hey, I had a good time.
But I always say with series like that. Sorry, Lizard. I think you had 2 things to say. Go ahead. My bad.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say also like another reason tropes really don't like bother me, and like the thing is like my expectations on a series. Like I've read a lot of manga. I know what I'm gonna get into. Like I'll read if I read something that's like a slice of life here, I know there's gonna be a bunch of tropes in it, so I just don't mind about it. That's mainly why
I agree with you there. You are not wrong at all. But here's the thing, like for example, when we talk about the old manga, now I was talking about old manga, 90s to early 2000s. One thing that always helped them, I think that gave them the benefit, even if you got tropes, the characters look different. That's the problem. I'm running into the same guy named fucking Kazuma Kazuki. Some fucking shit. He got black hair, brown hair, bowl cut, spiky hair, and I know it's coming.
Not the bowl cut. Oh, I'm out of there.
They're not fucking changing shit, dude. Like I'm like, at least if this character, like, at least if he looked like a goth, or you're doing the high school setting, you switched it and there was a fucking woman, and she fucking looked different. And like, let's say like the most popular person in school wasn't like, oh, they're the most popular and prettiest person ever. Like, you can still use some of those tropes, but do things to subvert the expectation as you were talking about, or at least to like switch it so you're just like, oh, that's that trope, but like, you know, they kind of went about it a different way or dive deeper into it. They don't even try, dude. They're like copy and paste. Your childhood friend, she been liking you for about 10 years, and she waited till some girl popped up who transferred schools and decided to tell you. Oh, childhood president, student council, yeah, they got elected because they were pretty, and somehow they were smart and pretty at the same time, and for whatever reason, they somehow like your ass. Like, it don't, like, come on, man. Come on. This ain't it. You can't continue to do this over and over and over again. Like, I'm sorry, you can't do, like, where, like, what's that fucking line? Where's your pride? Like,
where's your pride?
Yeah, like, that's where I'm at. It's not that I feel like everything has tropes. You pick up a fucking book, there's fantasy tropes.
Yeah.
It's just that's not the problem. Tropes are everywhere. They will never go away because they're built off thousands of examples. That's not a problem. The problem is you are literally copying and pasting things that other people have done that were successful
Monkey
that
see,
you
monkey
can't
do.
do anymore.
Copycat league.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's been going on far too long.
Isekai peaked at digital. Bar said, so I think it seems to be two different types of tropes. Character type and character plot line. How they fit into the story. I feel like if the tropes are used for both, you get that uninspired series. The problem is if you have the character type tropes with the thing a specific genre, it copies each other. So the only way it works is if you have one of the two tropes in a wider genre types and no isekai, no isekai slice of life. Well, I totally lost the paragraph. For the character type, but if there's a character plot, okay, I think I hear what you're saying. You guys have something interesting with them. That's why it seems that the manga didn't have that problem. All the manga had the problem. It didn't seem to have both factors to copy off heavily reliance. Okay, that makes sense to me. What's up, Cypher? Mr. Gulad? That makes sense. Again, I still don't think it's inherently good or bad. I'm just over them. Like, because I will do the same thing with a Marvel or DC comic by picking them up and they need something super, super uninspired. I'll be like, yeah, be good on this. I'll start it off. But alright, let's keep it moving. Okay, we're going to get to a little bit of writing stuff and then we'll hop back out of it. By the way, that was a part-timer too getting its anime. Just want to say a shout out to that series because I like it a lot. I actually had a great time with it. I love it. It was my favorite one of my favorites for a really long time. I actually don't like the light novels that much though. I couldn't really read it, so I was hoping the anime would come back. So it's cool that it came back after it was 8 years I think I saw. It's cool. So I don't know if anyone else in here reads it or cares about it, but shout out to Mao Sama at Wackdonald's, whatever the fuck he was working at. Okay, so I spoke about this today, but let's just talk about it for a little bit because I was kind of into this argument a little bit earlier on the weekend. But does being quote unquote objective make your arguments infallible? So you'll constantly see people talk about, objectively speaking, speak through an objective lens, this, that, and the third, like I said earlier today. But there's a large, I kind of get the rationale behind this, but like there's a large amount of people that believe that by only being impartial is the only way you can look at something with like a cold, hard, objective facts for you to truly be able to judge the quality of the thing you're speaking about, whether it's a piece of technology, a game, whatever the case. But I actually like vehemently disagree with that. I don't think I don't think it's bad to try to be as unbiased as possible depending on what we're talking about. But I don't think being, personally invested or talking about personal anecdotes and how this piece of work relates to you makes your argument any less credible as long as you've built a good case. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm gonna go first. So that is a bunch of freaking Jedi mind tricking yourself. there is no such thing as freaking being objective about fucking entertainment. Why? Because there are little to no cold hard facts once we enter this realm. Why? Because every single person can be entertained completely differently. It doesn't matter if a series is fucking if a series is quote unquote written good or not, you know. And I think the main issue and the reason why we have this huge jumbled discourse is because the little semblance, well, not semblance, but the little instances of objectivity you can have in series fiction, right? So for example, I used this example before. So let's say I'm just giving out trigger warning now. I'm going to get a little dark for you all, but let's say that you're looking at a series and a character got molested when they was a minor, when they was really young, and they grew up to be very sexual and very flamboyant type beat in the streets type beat, right? You can easily argue that this is realistic because we have seen this happen in real life countless times. You may even know somebody like that type beat, right? So you can say, yes, this is very realistic, therefore it is good, but that don't really mean nothing because somebody could come out the woodworks and say, that's too dark, I don't like it. And they're perfectly fine. I'm going to use an argument against myself. I can go on endlessly about how good Umineko is. I can tell you about how realistic it is. I can tell you about the fucking social commentary that Ryukishi does on numerous aspects on life in general, not just Japanese life, but in general as human beings type beat, so on and so forth. I can go about the dynamics, the characters, all that. Somebody could walk up to me right now and say, that shit sad, I don't like sad stories, so it's whack. And I can't say nothing to that. If they don't like sad stories, then that's it. They don't like shit that freaking, they don't like shit that will make them not laugh or freaking not get hype. I can't say nothing to that. And that's it. There you go. There's nothing I could do about that, right? Because they are entertained completely different. It doesn't matter how realistic, how much I relate, how much shit like this has happened in real life before, how much freaking Yukishi is trying to, you know, have a conversation with the viewer type beat. It doesn't matter, none of that. If somebody doesn't like any one of those aspects, that's it. And there's nothing else to it. So there is no such thing as objectively looking at a series. Because I could walk up right now, take one look at JJK and say, I don't like Exorcist. So it's what? And that's it. And you can't tell me nothing. Because I don't like fucking Exorcist.
But you like these? I'm joking.
Alright, so to piggyback off what you're saying, I agree with that. Because we've had this conversation many times. This is a conversation that's going to continue to go on to the second time. And here is my updated answer. Yes and no. Because
Boo, pick a subject. Go ahead.
Because you can't, your subjective views are always going to shine through. That's just what it is. At the end of the day, whatever you're looking at, you're going to have your biases. That's just what it is for anything. It doesn't matter what happens. Because like if I cook something and I didn't like that nigga, all of a sudden, even if the rest of y'all said his food tasted good, I'd be like, nah, his food tastes like fucking shit. I would just like, it doesn't matter. Like, can y'all prove that I'm lying?
I just wanted to know that I'm sorry to mix up with the pot. Thank you.
Oh wow, Jesus Christ! I don't even know what you said.
I said I'm Sanji Baseball with the pot.
Okay. But that was kind of
I got you. I'm just being honest.
That was for me. It was kind of a bad analogy. But basically, what I'm saying is that when it comes to reading and writing stuff, as long as it just come back what I said at the beginning of the fucking stream. If you weren't here, I'll reiterate. As long as you're not lying, you know you're good. Like Simi said, if he just don't like that shit, there ain't nothing you could do. That's the strongest argument as you could fucking make in my book. I don't like it. Okay, that's all I can do. But I think there are parts when we research stories or when we read certain things, there is some level of, okay, he executed this well. I didn't like it. I disagree. But you can still probably somewhat make an argument that some of the executions that was there, or you can't necessarily find like a flaw with what was done. You just go, it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. But that doesn't mean that like it was bad inherently.
Nah. In the MLA format, I need you to explain to me in full objective detail why you didn't like this. That's how they be talking to me.
Yeah.
Mr. Lizard.
It's like, because I always come back to like kind of like AOT with this point, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't go on when I read Attack on Titan, I don't go and just try to like bash the writing, bash the fucking shit that he's doing. Most of the time, the things that I say is that these characters do not invoke strong emotional responses out of me, which is something that I find important out of storytelling and stories that I'm involved in. I need the characters to like, for me to kind of root for them, either for me to root for them or for me to hate them. And a lot of characters in that story, I feel very indifferent. So that doesn't help. That's one thing. So, but that's like kind of a thing for me. But I can't necessarily say that like the story wasn't written well. I don't ever criticize them for that. I would just be like, this story doesn't range as high as for me as for y'all, because there's no way I can look at a story and the characters are not important. Because a lot of these things, I can forgive a lot of shit in stories. But if the characters are top tier for me, or at least enough of the characters are top tier for me, I can't do that. And for me, that's kind of important in a fantasy, I don't know what you want to classify AOT as. Like in a fantasy, like shonen type manga.
It's a zombie.
It's not those things, those character interactions and stuff like that are important. Like if I'm reading a fighting series, the characters are important in a different way. Because just like, they need to be raw. If you fighting, you need to be raw. That's why when I rate something, it's kind of hard for me. Like, I like rating things, but at the end of the day, you can't really look at stuff that I rate and be like, oh, this the same. Because you look at like a romance 8 out of 10 for me and fighting 8 out of 10, they're not the same things. Like they're 8 out of 10, but I'm comparing it against its own genre, kind of. That's what I see it. But yeah, Lizard.
I got a mouthful to say, but yeah,
go.
We need to get. You know how boy Siamese get the fucking.
We try to talk first. We try to give it talk first. That's
yeah. Hello. Yeah. I completely agree with Simi. Subject, like you cannot be objective with any of these things. Like a lot of times, like I'm just gonna say, a lot of times people just hide their subjective opinions behind an objective,
and there it is,
quote unquote objective argument. Like they'll say this series is bad. Let's say, I don't know what series. Give me One Piece, right? One Piece. They hate One Piece, but they're too scared to say they hate One Piece. But they say, objectively speaking, if you look at the right, like just say you hate One Piece. They're just trying to hide behind this objective veil of saying things because they're too scared to say they hate One Piece. Like I don't, and like I think Naya brought it up. Maybe like your life experiences and everything you go into affect what you consider things like good writing. Things what you consider like well executed, or like all those things are affected by your life, by your
upbringing, your experiences, your socialization, all those kind of things.
Like it just you can't do that, and like that's why I find this just, and like it's just I'm gonna just say it. I think looking at shit objectively is stupid because what's the point? Like I have people saying I have an objective top 10. What's the point of having an objective top 10? First of all, it's not objective. It's just it's just like what everybody considers objectively top 10.
You're
You know what I mean? Like they'll have like Mushishi.
I'm already laughing too. I'm sorry. Keep going.
They'll be like Mushishi is in their top. They'll be like, I hate Mushishi, but that shit's. Well, those shit, and then
you ask her to explain Mushishi, and they'll know what the fuck. Like, so I think you peep that shit. the most cap thing I see on anyone's list is Mushishi, bro. So funny.
like this is I mean, this is a different medium, but I've seen like people say music beat. They'd be like, I haven't peeped Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly," but I know that's objectively a top 10 hip hop album. Like that doesn't make sense. You haven't peeped it. Like your experience with it is just like thing, and then they almost force themselves to like it. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off topic. Basically, yeah, like you can't be objective with most things, and like, well, first of all, comparing series, as soon as you compare something, objectivity is out of the window. But looking solely at the certain series, like, who's to say you won't like cool older brother characters because you have a cool older brother and you think this is a good character, and like you think how you execute it as well. Plus your life experiences and how you see it. Like if you know like let's say again, cool older brother, and then you see a form of media that like executes it as well as you know it is, you'll think it's executed well, even though that's just up your subjective mind instead of being objective. If you know what I mean. And
yeah, like obviously I spoke about it on today's video. If you guys can watch that later if you care. I don't really care if you watch it, but the thing that I'll say is this, right? So let's say, me and Simi, right? We're the same age. We both grew up, and now we both watch the same shows back to back. One's about pirates, one's about ninjas, and I think pirates are the coolest things ever. I look at ninjas flinging doo-doo in their shuriken, and I go, "That's don't hit." But Simi like, hold on, the way that it affects the person, like he might take an interest in that. Are either of us wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like. So I grew up liking pirates, so I might read a ninja story and this simply doesn't resonate with me solely to the fact that I'm not really into ninjas. But I'm like, yeah, it's a cool story, but it's not my thing. I often say that with like something like Lord of the Rings. At the time, I wasn't into high fantasy, so I was like, I think it's actually pretty good. Like I don't think it's bad or anything. It's not for me though. Like I don't want to watch this shit ever again or read it ever again. Whereas I would probably do the opposite with Pirates of the Caribbean. I watch that shit all the time. I only probably think the first movie is truly, quote-unquote, objectively a good movie. But you guys know where I stand. I do not think it's possible to be objective when we're speaking about art, music, storytelling, things of that nature. Everyone is so vastly different for a multiple of variables, throughout your life and whatnot. And I don't think for like something like writing, one size fits all. Even if like manga, like I don't think there's one right way to make a manga. Because I'll see someone's list and see every series they have is, I'm like, for a lack of better terms, I'll say it's like Berserk-esque, Berserk-like. So it's a lot darker, grittier, more somber, melancholy tone with a lot of death and maybe some sexual theme, things like that, right? And for me, it's like, yeah, there's tons of stories that I've read that I think that are like that are good, but me, I'm trying to laugh. I want my shit to be goofy, over the top, and zany, but then someone will try to compare the two and say, no, like, this is obviously better because this happened to this character, then he went through that, and I'm like, but characters don't have to be dynamic to be good. A lot of the most popular figures in popular culture, they're static characters. Nothing wrong with that. So to me, I don't think you can really be objective. Like an objective statement is like the writer of One Piece is Ichiro Oda. That's how I think you could speak about One Piece objectively. But Lizard said something that I totally agree with. I think a lot of people just hide behind that veil to be like, no, you see, like I don't even like One Piece, and then they'll say something objectively speaking about it. But deep down, they really like One Piece, and they want you to think that because they're being impartial, that argument that they're making holds more credence. And I'm not with that.
Yeah, so, see, the thing is, I mean, you already said it, but I think I could put it in a very solid way. Though, I'm a firm believer that it is 101% impossible. There is no wiggle room to be objective about freaking writing, because at the end of the day, as I said, in this realm of fiction, it's entertainment. What's the point of entertainment? To entertain. And as we've all said, every single person is entertained differently. I can be entertained by freaking being sad. You can be entertained by getting hyped. You can be entertained by, laughing, type B. And because we all get entertained differently, we're all going to have freaking different biases, different standard, different scales, so on and so forth. If a nigga walk up to me right now and say, yo, Fairy Tail the best manga ever created, no cap, I rate it 10 out of 10, what am I going to tell him? Right?
Objectively, I'm joking.
he liked the art. He liked that. He liked series that has a lot of characters and a lot of chapters. He liked magic and he liked the fan service, right? So what the fuck am I gonna tell him? And this is not an argument. And as I said again, with the fucking Umineko example, I can argue all day about how realistic and how to life this series is. But someone could just walk up to me right now and say, I don't like realistic stories. I like over-the-top stories. And that's it. And
I had that face.
There is no freaking, there's no argument, there's no nothing. That's all there is to it. And it's a huge headache, especially in the anime-manga spectrum, because, you know, you have folk trying to swear that they fucking scholars, that they better than you, that they are the elite and all that. And it's just like, bro, at the end of the day, we looking at a bunch of fucking stupid shit for entertainment, man. What are you doing? We all in the library fucking reading comics. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a fucking headache. But yeah, there is no freaking objective anything. And I think that a lot has to do with freaking peer pressure as well. People don't want to be put on the spot, or people don't want to be slandered type B, or what may have you. People want to be in an in crowd, so they gravitate, shift, say whatever the fuck that the majority is saying. And they don't want to be an outlier or outcast or what may have you. But hey man, we all get entertained differently. There's nothing nobody could say to change that fact.
Are you sure? Because if you hate AOT, you're objectively
Thank you, my
wrong.
guy. Abdel, the goat. Say that again, Lizard.
If you hate AOT, you're objectively wrong, and you should not read manga anymore. Because
One Piece is one of my favorite mangas, so I'm disqualified. Remember, I'm disqualified. Well, would an objective statement be more so along the lines of understanding and comprehending why something doesn't entertain you personally, but could still be good? Like, I ain't never gonna peep Berserk, but what I've seen personally, I can understand why someone having the top devs under my. I mean, we all kind of said that, but I don't know if that makes me objective. Basically, I think that's just me being as impartial as I can be. Where it's like, yeah, like nothing about this piece of work is really in my realm or to my liking and my standards or whatever the case. But I don't see any literal like plot hole or whatever the case. Like, yeah, it's solid, it's good writing, good cinematography, whatever we're talking about. But I just may have not vibe with it personally. But I don't know if that's me looking at it objectively. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just
to start changing the word. I like what you just used there, like impartial. I think people should like change.
Yeah.
Some of the language.
Bad, unbiased, whatever. Like you're just trying to.
If you say objective, like you can't be objective. But if you say I'm trying to be impartial, well, that's a little bit different. Because like you trying to be impartial if you basically say I don't have a dog in this fight because I don't really give a shit one way or the other. But you trying to be objective is like you trying to look at it from a fact-based perspective, and in a lot of terms you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah. Also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say you could also just say that it's just like respecting people's opinion, because you could say, yeah, I don't see what's good about this, but I could see other people. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things. A lot of people just have to kind of go through it and then grow out of it. Because I mean, I was way more volatile when I was younger on the internet, but I grew out of it pretty fast. One day I learned that like you just don't win on the internet, and everything is meaningless, and I just stopped bothering. But yo, 626 in the chat preaching. He's speaking the gospel on Berserk. That shit is whack. All right, so let's talk about the video that they set me up with to get fucking cooked in the code tweets. But plot conveniences, plot contrivances, the Deus Ex Machina debacle. And here's where I wanted to start, because I think it might have been a comment, but I want to talk about the convenience thing, because I think that people look at that wrong. But at the end of the day, that's just going to be dependent on the person. But convenient things do happen in real life. We can say that, right? Yeah. Like I was like, let's say I'm facing a certain type of team, and the fact that I'm extremely fast is what is the only thing that we needed. But I wasn't necessarily prepared to be like, haha, I must use my speed. But like, oh, that's nice. Like their entire 4 defenders and their sweeper or whatever is slow as shit. I'll burn them on the line, right? Things like that happen. So like I always say, like with a convenience thing, because we were having this conversation with my cousin, I think, and it was pretty interesting too, because I was basically saying, like, let's say there's like 100 scenarios happen, and 12 times, 12% of the times, something just kind of luckily fell into the lap of the people who are in danger. That to me seems like a pretty sensible percentage for something kind of randomly to go in your favor. Does that make sense? Making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let me sure I'm not sounding crazy. So, like, yeah, obviously your sensitivity to it is going to be, is going to determine how much you like it or not. Like, yeah, I could imagine you reading something like One Piece and going to Sky P and be like, really? Luffy happens to be the only dude who's rubber who could fight this guy? I could understand you looking at me like that's a little heavy-handed, but I don't know. That's again, everyone's going to kind of react to that stuff differently. Now, with the actually, no. Well, I'll come back to that after. But someone chime in. Let me just go to the bathroom real quick.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Sammy. Yeah.
Yeah, freaking, the thing is, I feel like folk don't understand the differences between these specific phrases, because there's absolutely a fucking difference between them. And as Vince said, y'all need to freaking pick up a goddamn dictionary and actually look at what the hell you're saying, because a plot convenience and a Deus Ex Machina are 2 completely different things, right? As Yeti just said, conveniences happen in reality all the goddamn time and whatnot. So you could literally argue that a fictional series having convenience is pretty realistic, because conveniences happen in freaking reality type B. But and I really think that folk, they don't know the difference between a plot convenience and a freaking Deus Ex Machina, so they kind of think that the 2 are interchangeable, and they think that freaking, or they might have their freaking definitions mixed up, and that's why we had that whole discourse freaking the other week, 2 weeks ago now, whatever the fuck it happened. Because you literally have people say plot conveniences, but then you have other people saying Deus Ex Machinas all in this freaking same quote tweets. And it's like, so which is it? Right? Plot conveniences is literally just up to the viewer, how you feel about it, right? So like, as the example that Yeti used, Luffy against Enel, right? I didn't have an issue with that.
Right.
Because he is not affected by electricity, but Luffy's also not affected by freaking blunt force or bludgeoning either, right? And Luffy's been rubber since chapter fucking 1. So it would eventually come to the point where Luffy will fight someone he has an advantage over, right? So I don't see why anybody would have the issue, but other people could be like, okay, but XYZ, that just make the MC win type B. And it's whatever. That's not an argument I'm gonna have. But
here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? When you have a Deus Ex Machina, it's saving you from a seemingly hopeless situation. So, for example, like Tower God does this shit. Like, okay, like Bam's fighting somebody. He can't beat this nigga. He has not shown you the ability to overcome this situation prior to the fight before, and then he'll imagine something and he'll pull it out. That's fucking shitty. That's not a convenience.
That's contrived. That's a contrivance.
A convenience would be like, Nye just happened to be walking past the fucking place that I got kidnapped, and he heard like me being tortured or something. He walked in, he saved me. That's a convenience. And
maybe I'm like an Interpol agent or something. I don't know.
Right, or something. It's just like, but the thing is, the way the author could write that, he could have shown you fucking Nye, getting ready to walk that direction a couple of chapters prior, or you knew he was in the vicinity beforehand, and it's a convenience when he came to the spot that I was at. It's not like, oh, I was in a hopeless situation. Like, nobody knew where I was. Nobody should know where I was. And I just fell out of the sky and just happened to save me. And then now the author got to seemingly write his way out of him knowing somehow where I was. That's different. Those two different things. So convenience, you can write in, but put it before it. Go ahead.
Yeah, to catch you up real quick, Yiddy. What I was saying was, I think there's a disconnect when people use these two terms. I think the problem is people don't know that there's a huge difference between the two terms, that they're not the same thing, and that people think that they're interchangeable. I brought up, when Vince posted that excerpt from that video. People you got one hand of people saying plot conveniences, then you have another hand of people saying Deus Ex Machinas, then you have another hand of people saying both and whatnot. I feel like the issue here is that they don't know the actual definition between these two words, so they think that they're the same thing. Yeah,
like a Deus Ex Machina would be something game changing. Like, I'm not talking about like, I'm a fighter in the series, and I walk by Sydney, he's getting his ass beat, but somebody who can control, all the blood that falls out of somebody's body, but I could heal naturally. You know what I'm saying? So, like, even when I get cut, my body just heal up, so they can't really use my blood like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not. I'm talking about, like, if we don't find a way out of this, the story is over. Roll credits, game over. And it's like Jesus will just come from the heaven and smite all your enemies. And it's like, wait, did deities even exist in this universe prior? Did anybody establish this? No, something came out of nowhere and completely turned that situation on its head. I will give you some of my best example. I'll give you like 6 seconds to like plug your ears or whatever if you plan on ever reading Katekyoshi Hitman Reborn and you want to hear the spoiler. But I'm like 3, 2, 1, spoiler incoming. Talbot, when the Shimon family broke all their Wongula rings, and this old man is like, oh yeah, I know Wongula Primo, here are these rocks, put your dying will flame in there, get Wongula gear. What? What? Like, bro, I was so prepared for like, how they gonna fight? How they gonna use box weapons? What's finna happen? The next chapter, some old dude I never heard of from the first Wongula family mafia boss generation come with some fucking rocks. Nigga. That shit is trash. And I like that series, don't get me wrong. I love Reborn. To me, that's like a really big issue. You don't have their Wongula rings. The highest grade of rings in the series, that's a part of the Trini Sete with the pacifiers and the Shimon. Is the Shimon rings are part of it? I should even remember now. Or was it the family of that Byakudan was a part with the girl? Damn it. But you're talking about the Trini Sete of the 777. Like, that's a big deal. And then it solved the next chapter because some old dude just came by with his trench coat talking about, I got what you need, bro. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you need.
Oh my god.
Holy shit, bro. So yeah, but there was no prior hints, nothing of that. Like, he literally just came out of fucking nowhere to save the story. The next chapter. Like, we didn't have a second of like sitting down and figuring out how they're gonna fight, what they're gonna do. Will they have to be on some Hibari from the future type beat where he just burns his flame as hard as he can, knowing the ring will shatter after the fact? None of that happened. None of it. We threw away any and all possible interesting storytelling with the rings being destroyed. Why? Because old man got what you need. That's always been one of the most egregious ones to me. As much as I love they nothing to do with the convo, but just started Bakemonogatari, really enjoyed the small arc, whatever it's called so far. Yeah, Sitagi Crab. That's what I like to see. Deus Ex Machina's Yusuke come back to life after he lost to Sensui as a demon. Deus Ex Machina, every series you can't escape it. It comes out to execution. Yo, okay, so let me speak on that real quick. I know you're making fun of some of those takes. Because somebody asked me if it could be a good thing, and this is the only answer I really have to. Like, I think you guys heard me say this before. If I've like truly messed up and I wrote myself into a hole, and this is a good series up until this point. Let's say the series ends up being 600 chapters. We're like chapter 650, and I kind of introduce a Deus Ex Machina to kind of just put me back on the right path and get me out of the situation I'm in, and I never do it again. if that's the very thing that kind of salvages the story, even though that moment itself, that, you know, that trial and tribulation they had to overcome is kind of ruined or skewed, I can live with it. I'll be like, okay, at least since you did this, got yourself out the mud, you need to jump back into quicksand. So I could let that go. But that's still to me a failure on your part, in the sense that I'd feel like it's like I'm a role player, and I played trash game 1, 2, and 3. Now we're an elimination game, and I hit the game winner. That's a good thing that I did. It saved us. Now we're still in the series, if you will. But that doesn't excuse that I played trash the first 3 games. You know what I'm saying? So that's my ultimate take on that. Anyone want to chime in? I want to keep it moving.
Oh yes, I was saying anything about the fucking topic. So go ahead, brother.
I don't. I feel like you guys said it a lot. Whatever thing, I'll do agree though that. No, I said I feel like you guys basically said a lot of what could be said about that.
It's all good, bro. If you don't got nothing to say, that is okay. But go ahead if you do.
I just have a small thing. I'll agree with the like how people just don't. They'll like think, they'll think they like misuse contrivances and conveniences. I know I might be repeating, but like repeating what somebody else said. But like I mean, I know it's kind of weird to say, but coincidences can happen. And I know it's weird because, you know, they read the story, so obviously it's not a coincidence. But like, it's more like a, you know, everybody knows what Cinema Sins is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of their.
Oh yes, like their channel. Yes.
Yeah, like their style, right? Like their type of critiquing of like what they think conveniences are. They'll think like to them, like even just setting up the story, because like, you know, a lot of stories have quote unquote convenient starts, right? Like, oh, the teacher that taught me magic just happened to walk by my house on this day while I was going out, and I happened to save them, and I also happened to be the hero that they need, right? But I don't feel like that's like necessarily a bad thing, but they'll just like, you know, they'll like slam that. But yeah, that's mostly what.
I think while we're still on kind of talking about terms, we could just transition a little bit to the plot armor asshole thing. Like the terms like this, like, you know, like Simi and I was talking about, like, you know, like the IGNs was talking about this and that is the Dark Souls of this genre, that genre, this is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls, whatever the fuck they be talking about. So I feel like blanket terms like this are pretty lazy. Like someone comes to me and says, oh, but yeah, you know, it's fine. The main character has plot armor. And it's just an asshole. I don't know. I don't know why it bothers me so much, because I ultimately understand what you're trying to say, but I'd rather you explain your actual issue than use this term.
I agree. I was just finna say that, because if now asshole is kind of one of those things, because it's fun. It's kind of funny because we're almost kind of mending, because you could argue like with the plot conveniences, the plot contrivances, and all that shit. This says Machina. Asspools and shit like that were just the replacement words for some of that. Basically, somebody saying the asspool, you basically might be them just looking at a plot convenience that they didn't like.
That's true.
They'd be like, it's an aspool. It's an aspool.
I will still explain why it's contrived, though, even if I'm telling you that, though.
Right, exactly. Well, you and certain other people I know, pretty much everybody in here, like, even if you say that, I can ask y'all, like, oh, why did you think so? You be able to explain it. Problem is, a lot of people might say that, and they can't explain to you why it was. So just like, we just kind of need to like stop using these things, because most people either don't know what they're saying or don't know how to explain it. So just like now, it's just like you just basically saying that for anything you don't like. It's like, no, man, like fucking, because I was like, it's like when I was like doing my One Piece thread. I was like, he laid out some of the stuff that he was gonna do beforehand. Now, if I say it's a perfect foreshadowing or anything like that, no. But certain aspects, it's just like Luffy was like, oh, before he did Gear 2, Luffy was like, there's a new move I want to try out. He said that like a couple of chapters before he used it.
I think he said on the Rocket Man when they were going towards the Judiciary Island, I believe.
Yeah. He was like, there's a new move I want to try out. Then he pulled out Gear 2. If you going, oh, that's an ass pull, well, no, you might have not liked how he did it, but he already told you that he already told you that like they could go pull out a new move. He told you. It's just that you may not like it because, you know, One Piece is not a story where you see niggas training, you see them complete the form, and then you can see it get used in battle. But he's
Yeah.
never done that.
That's true.
Like, we never see Luffy fucking trained to use gum Gatling gun. You never see him trained to use fucking, like, every time Luffy does a fight, he uses a new move anyway. Every single time, pretty much. Every time he had an important fight in the beginning of the series, he used a new move. Every single time. So what's the difference between that and Gear 2? Now, if he would have used hockey in the fight, that would have been different. But Gear 2 is not a hockey move. It's a move he came out with. So it's not asked for. But it's shit like that be happening that have people messed up. They be like, oh, I didn't like it, so now No.
Freaking... Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vince nailed it on the head perfectly. It goes into the realm of blanket terms, but the ass pull word, ass pull, they use it interchangeably. They don't, ass pull doesn't have one set definition, right? So, as Vince said, some people use ass pull for conveniences. Other people use ass pull for legitimate Deus Ex Machinas. And some people use ass pulls for just shit that they don't like. Right? So you never know, like, what we gotta, like, do a lot of freaking context clues on how the person is whenever they use that damn term, because there's no real set definition for it, and it's just used in so many different scenarios, which makes the freaking issue and whatnot. The whole plot armor thing is it's fucking whatever to me. I mean, y'all know me, I'm over freaking arguing with anybody, but it's like, I don't know, man. My favorite series, every single arc don't revolve around the MC. The MC does not win every single fight type beat. So, when folks say that MC is losing, like, and he just win, but he shouldn't. And they say, oh, that's Plarm, it's okay. I'm like, I don't know, man. I read series where the MC will just take his loss and we'll keep it pushing.
I'm going to ask that question right after, but I don't know if there's anyone to say anything about the Aspel thing.
Yeah. Are you done, Simi, or you can?
Yeah, I don't really got much to say else.
Yeah, like, this again sounds stupid, but like, I was talking about it before with tropes, but like, blanket terms are almost like the tropes of the reader, like the trope version of readers thing, or like, I'll explain it a little bit. Like they just use it as a way to excuse themselves to actually explain it. They'll just say this. Why is this bad? This is an asshole, and they'll be like, everybody knows what an asshole is, or mostly they know what it is, and they know, quote unquote, that it's bad. But you don't have to actually explain yourself. So like blanket terms, just like in a way they almost like stop communication between or stop actual meaningful dialogue, because you can just say, oh, this plot armor or this asshole, and then you don't have to actually explain it. You just have to say this plot armor or like plot asshole. And that does most of your work for you. And what was it? Okay, what was the foreshadow? What do you consider foreshadowing in the blanket, or like foreshadowing?
It's, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of addiction for reading. Like it means you are obviously setting up something to happen to some character later. I don't know. I think it has a set definition. I mean, you could say that. You could still explain what the foreshadow is if you want. So it's fair enough, but that's more of an official term.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay, yeah, then like, but like still like, and then like, even as you said, it just depends on it. It's like going back to the subjective argument. First of all, you have to go subjectively. Like, what if you say something is an asshole without explaining it to somebody, and then their version of an asshole is just like, what they think an asshole is completely different to yours. But so you're like miscommunicating, like you're like, how you view the series is different, or like how you view an asshole is different. So you're like your what you get out of, like, like, let's say somebody thinks an asshole is when somebody comes back from death, and you think an asshole is when somebody just wins the fight even though they're losing for a while. and it's just like yeah, I think so basically I just think that like these terms just stop a meaningful dialogue from happening with each other, with people. And yeah,
I feel that. Oh, what's up, Jordan? How you doing, man? How you doing, brother? What I was gonna say is this, like, what about the rhetoric that you always hear people like, it's the MC, of course he has plot armor. How do you guys feel? I've always hated that statement, because I'm like Simi said, there's so many stories out here. I'm like, there's times I read a story where the main character just loses, right? Like, he just straight up just doesn't win the fight. He just gets his ass beat.
I think I think it's like well, what do you like? Oh, how about I'm more talking about when people say, "Oh, of course the MC is not gonna die. They have plot armor MC." I'm like, that's a non-statement. Like, no shit. The what's it called? What's it called? The author's not gonna kill off their main character in like a permanent fashion in the beginning of their story, or like in the like beginning parts. Although that's, of course, it goes into other things, but like just kill them off and never put them in, that's not gonna happen 90% of the time. So just like a non-statement, like you're not really saying anything. You're just saying that the author's not gonna kill the main part of their story. And yeah.
I mean, honestly, the way I look at that is like Lizard said, of course the author, you never play it. My thing is, that don't mean they can't fuck up the way it was executed. That don't mean that the way that we look at it don't look like fucking bullshit. And like I said, one of the examples, I'm gonna go back to Tower of God. I don't never expect Bam to actually lose. But the one thing that I liked at the beginning, or in the middle parts too, is that he would avoid Bam actually having to fight straight up, or having to like, do a complete one-on-one by doing like games, little tricks, putting things in his advantage in a different way. It's just like, especially the biggest sin for me is when I'm looking at shit like this, is that when you try to like establish a power scale of sort, or you try to establish these certain rules of your world, and the enemy clearly has the advantage, and the MC somehow gets out of it like effortlessly, or like, that's more struggle than anything. Like, I want the MC to struggle in some way. If the MC is overpowered, okay, yeah, he don't always have to struggle in a physical way. It could be a psychological way. It could be in struggle with his morality. It could be struggle in a different way. But sometimes the way, the execution of how they do it is just not good, man. It's not good. That's a problem.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. Kaneko Man lost his first 6 fights. He goes 0-6 at the beginning of the fucking series. So I'm not hearing nothing about no fucking, oh, it's the MC, he gotta win type B. I'm just not. Because we've seen examples of that not happening. People who say that, they just show their experience level, if you will, right? They literally just show
You're still green.
They just show what how little they know, how small their horizons are, And if you just read if you literally only read Shonen Jump manga, that's fine, I can't tell you
What to read.
As much as I want, I can't tell you to go fucking read other shit. If that's all you want to read, that's all the fuck you want to read, right? But the point I'm trying to make is, if you only read Shonen Jump manga, you cannot sit here and try to apply Shonen Jump logic to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is not going to fucking follow that. And that's all there is to that, Shonen Jump has a very specific standard mold that they want their employees to follow, and everybody else not going to freaking fall to that, let alone freaking outside of the country, So just because the 5 Shonen Jump manga you read, the MC always won, does not mean that the random fucking graphic novel from Germany that I'm reading gotta follow that.
And there it
You
is.
know, like it's. And I don't understand why people, be saying that. Like, bro, you just exposing yourself at that point. Don't sit here and tell me what a character has to do or what they're going to do, because they don't have to do anything. There's numerous examples of that. I'm gonna use freaking Metro for example. The original script, or I should say the original first volume of Metro. I'm talking about the Russian novel series that got adapted into a video game. Y'all might know.
Mm-hmm.
The MC Artyom dies at the fucking end of it, at the first fucking volume. And
Oh my God!
the nigga was gonna. No, I mean that's the original version. It's not freaking the one that's out now. That's the version that came out when he tried to get it published and they denied him. So Artyom dies at the end of the first novel. He's a main character. So, what the fuck are you trying to tell me? Why are you trying to tell me that the MC, he cannot lose, he cannot die type B? He could do all that shit.
I've even seen narratives where the main character technically changes. There's been one where it's more like a passing of the torch, where it's like it was the father or the mother. Now it's the
Gorlagon, shit.
Yeah, now it's the offspring. Or I've had some type of, like a bit of a bait and switch. I'm not going to necessarily spoil what it is, but it means Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles has something like that to some degree, if you think about it. So
yeah, so don't sit here and try to tell anybody else that a MC has to do this, that they have to have plot armor. Oh god. Plot armor and whatnot, because they don't. Plain and simple. And it's just like, you just exposing yourself, man. So freaking, I don't know what to tell you. Don't try to weigh in on shit that you don't know nothing about, please, because you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I say sometimes, someone will say something, and I'll be like, "Oh, you actually just exposed how much you don't know with this statement. You thought you were making some ironclad case that no one could refute." I'm like, "Oh, you don't know shit about nothing." Okay, and I'll just keep it moving. I'll just kind of keep it moving. But I think we already touched on the values thing, to be honest, because we kind of touched, like, with every topic that we spoke about with the subjectivity. I think we went into it, so I'm gonna leave that one alone for the time being, and talk about the tell don't show, if that's becoming more popular. But I kind of want to change the question a little bit. I want to ask if you think that's become the more receptive way that people think something has quality writing, if it is literally told to you via the words in the manga. So not through the artistry and things of that nature. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just go there. Togashi told me this is raw, I like this. But let's say Togashi decided to actually show me this through the artwork, which could be equally as interesting, but he doesn't do that. Do you think that more manga, like, anime fans are becoming more receptive to being told things via text, exposition, narration, whatever the case is? I mostly bring this up because of the Luffy feature site thing, where I couldn't believe that until it was almost just completely straight up just said and stated matter of fact. People are like, "Oh, he does have future sight," and I was like, "Bro, were you not reading the fucking manga? What the fuck are you talking about?" Jesus Christ Almighty! Go ahead.
I want to say something real wild. It's not a now thing. They've always been this way.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I don't. I'm really not trying to toot my horn or our horn, but I think it might have to do with just the general anime and manga fans reading level. They can't pick up and take things from the art or anything else that's happening, like facial expressions, scenery, panels, so on and so forth. They have to specifically have it stated in red, wink wink, otherwise they're not gonna fucking know WTF going on. I have been seeing this for as long as I've been an anime fan, and I think now that freaking Hunter x Hunter is becoming more popular in the West, we just seeing it more on a freaking global scale, but they've always been that way. And I really think it just has to do with, them being on a lower freaking reading level. And I am not by any stretch of the imagination trying to make myself seem like some big giant freaking intellectual or things like that. But listen, I already told you in the freaking video game podcast, you can tell a character's personality or what the fuck they about just by the way that they dress. Now let somebody say that on the timeline and see freaking how they get chewed out type beat. And I don't know what else to say about that. It's just freaking, it's really weird because it's like, I hate having my intelligence insulted. Like, don't sit here and spoon feed me every single little thing. I am a grown man. Please allow me to infer and explore myself. I can decipher, analyze, whatever you may want to say, the story myself and come to my own conclusions. And I'm pretty confident in my ability that I can understand what the hell the author is trying to convey to me. Right? I really dislike it when series just tell me every single little thing word for word, bar for bar. It's just like, what am I doing here? Am I in preschool or something? It's really weird. And for, when series don't do that, I really can't wait to get up to that freaking Katakuri fight. But when series don't do that, you have huge discourses and when arguments about it, and it's just like, y'all gotta do better. Seriously, y'all really have to fucking do better because this shit is fucking pathetic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, everybody else.
Everybody else? All right, nice talk.
Revisit the question for because I kind of forgot.
Honestly, I'm not gonna. I was gone for like the beginning of the question, so I didn't hear it.
What was the question?
See?
Wow.
I forgot.
Freaking.
I already deleted that topic. It's gone now. I don't remember.
He said is telling, not showing, being the more in thing and whatnot.
I like a balance, to be honest. Now, when it started getting to that, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to fucking, because I'm normally not the one to shit on this fan base, but that Hunter x Hunter shit, or that fucking Sherlock Holmes type shit, like, it was cool when Sherlock was doing it because he's Sherlock Holmes, but normally, I don't like that shit. Like, when you write every single aspect of what's going on, that's boo-boo. But, I don't want to, like, complete silence either. Like, I like to, like, have some level, but, like, I want the dialogue to be raw. Like, I'm more happy with, like, let them fight or let them do actions, but them have the little raw ass dialogue, like when Luffy was like, "Oh, this no good. I can't beat you like this." Like, I was like, "Oh, he finna do something different." Okay, he said, "Fuck it, this ain't working no more," or some shit, or just some shit like that, or like when I be reading Gameron or something like that, where he was like, "All right, I'm finna." You like basically you have the dialogue. Or a nigga tell you finna turn the fight around. This ain't finna go your way no more.
You don't mean you're gonna use that? Yes, I must use it.
Yeah, like I don't need that. Or I need no fucking random narrator coming out of the blue, fucking telling me everything that I just saw the chapter before the episode before. That's whack.
And Abdel, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Not a single thing wrong with that. Because even when it comes to the realm of analyzing stuff, critically thinking and deconstruction, I think there's things that I'm bad at. I think I'm terrible at speaking on music and how music will enhance something. All I could do with music tell you, I don't know, I like the song. Like I literally don't know what to do with that. So I don't speak about music in almost anything that like we're talking about. Like I don't talk about how much I love the anime. I might just be like, oh yeah, OST, yeah, sure, all, and then end the video because I just don't know how to describe it. Like everyone's different, so I think we all have our strengths and weaknesses. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, hey, I like this. Why? I don't know. It's cool. I like this thing. This guy cool. He punch hard. He fuck niggas up. It's raw, and then you just keep it moving. There's nothing wrong with just saying how you feel. So. I feel Sanji didn't change his arc. Trash. Luffy didn't win. Type beat. Yeah, you know what it is. But yeah, did you want to go, Lizard? Did you say anything?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I kind of like, yeah, I'm more leaning on the show don't tell. Like, I mean, I don't like as Vince said, I don't want like nothing tell them. Like, I want like them telling me nothing at all. But I like it when I'm able to like infer or like give my own thoughts or like put my own like views on it instead of just being like stated everything and I can't really like think or do that myself. And like to use like one of Simi's favorite words, it kind of closes the cap box on what the story could be.
Yeah.
Like, cause like as they like Hunter.
Wink.
Bink, bink.
King was, I mean.
Like Hunter. I mean, we just said it, so I'll just say it. But like Hunter, they explain every single term, and then they explain. They don't leave like it almost leaves no like room for you to think. Oh, maybe it's like this way.
There's no room for interpretation.
Yeah, basically, you can't interpret it. Like that's the word I was looking for. You can't interpret it in a different way, and that just seems boring to me. At the end of the day, I want to like I want to be able to say my thing, even if it might turn out wrong or anything. I just want to be able to do that, and I just don't like. I don't understand people that want like everything spoon fed to them because it just seems boring, right? Like just everything being told to you, everything being like explained to you.
My problem is the shit don't be complicated. Like I said, he just take an entire page to tell me he's sneaky. I don't trust him. Why did I take a whole page? That's what I'm saying. Like maybe like Nembeast, you got to explain that shit. Do your thing, but bro, me having to sit to you talking about, I don't trust him. The way that he blinked and came in the room, he immediately looked all around as if he was up. Like, bro, keep it moving.
It's cause of people like. I mean, this is kind of like thing. It's like One Piece, and like what like in like against Buggy, right? Like they need order to say, oh, he beat a Buggy because of like actual like objective, like like to accept it, to accept it basically, right? And it's just like those kind of people that just make writers say, oh, I have to explain it because these dumbasses like won't understand it if you don't.
Like Simi said, yeah. I don't like my intelligence being insulted either. That's why I don't like sometimes when they do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, man, it's like, bro.
Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Like the issue, like, listen, and it falls under the realm of freaking what the medium actually is, right? So I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but if I'm reading a light novel or a visual novel and the main character is explaining that the nigga walked in, he looked left to right and he's kind of shifty and he stands there for like 5 seconds, then he moves on to the corner and puts his head down and then puts his left arm in his left pocket, that's fine. Why? Because there's no visuals. So you have to explain to me what the fuck going on so I can visualize what's going on. In a manga, Hunter x Hunter, there's fucking visuals. If the nigga come in, he got little speed lines over him. You got a little panel of him looking to the left, and then freaking
he kind of like drip some sweat, looking a little shady.
Yes, we can tell he's freaking shifty. What the hell's going on? You don't have to have the freaking MC or whoever the hell the freaking scene is following point of view tell me for the next 3 pages that he's shifty. He's shifty. I can see that he's shifty. What's going on?
But he didn't say he's shifty, so you might not be shifty.
You might not know. How would you know if I don't tell you? How would you know? No, like, yeah.
Yeah, I hate having my hand held, and I hate taking away when you take away all aspects of freaking freedom, interpretation, exploration on the reader's part. At least allow me to freaking infer and come to my own conclusions myself before you give me the answer. But I don't know, man. It's
that's something I really like about. I found myself really liking about like anime compared to manga sometimes. Is that I do say is because I wasn't somebody who originally cared about like who directing it and all that sort of shit. But as I grow older, like I do appreciate the few times where I do appreciate the director kind of messing with what's going on. Is that they'll use the animation and like the visual representation of the characters, like facial expressions and look, and using the music to their advantage instead of necessarily just saying so. Or you can feel like when I look at a panel, I rather feel the panel through your pen work, through your art, than you writing he was scared. And because he was scared, blah 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 blah. I'm like, you can say that, but if that nigga look like he got a straight face, like that's not gonna do anything for me. I was like, what do you mean? Like,
no, we have a pretty good example. The nigga in the Chaos Emerald. Talk about he's so heroic, he's brave. I'm like, I think he kind of just a murderer, but
He had the perfect body, nigga. Shoulder, freaking his left shoulder bigger than his right shoulder.
Yeah,
none about it that's symmetrical, let alone perfect.
I don't know if you guys did see that it's supposed to actually be called the essence of nothingness, though. Haku did a video.
Is that
on
what
that.
it's supposed to be called?
Yeah, Haku did a video on it explaining that, and the translation for that in Black Shinsu Sphere holes whatever is like for Shinwan Ryu, it's like wrong. It's actually a really good video. I'll send it to you guys after.
I guess that's way better than
No,
the
but-
essence of bravery.
But we were talking about it. I'm like, this actually ties into his character so much better. I don't get off topic and talk too much COG right now, but like, I'm like, do you know how much more sense this makes? Especially when it comes full circle, you think about what's happening with him right now. Come on, bro. But hey,
Yeah, I really wish we would have had that back in the day, so we wouldn't have been killing
it's
him.
the essence of
That
April,
was
though.
funny though.
Yeah.
That episode never not gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Essence of bravery. We were like, no, it's the essence of murder. The essence of nonsense.
Essence of void, essence of April, essence of V, essence of murder, essence of violence. We had so many names for this shit.
Essence of V.
They said V was in the crystal? That shit different.
That's one of the funniest theories.
Now I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and watch that video. Oh god, that shit's funny as fuck. I'm gonna stream it later. We gonna watch it.
I'm gonna tell you guys here right now. By the way, we gonna save the last two topics for the next one.
Oh, okay. It's already 11:38, so
Yeah,
you're 12:38.
Yeah, but all right, underpowered, weak characters, and really like timid. I'm speaking of characters in there like Suna. I guess Suna isn't Kako. Suna becomes what he is, like a Shinji type. You know what I mean? Like underpowered. It turns out they're weaker than everyone else, or maybe if the world's about being intelligent, they're not as smart. Whatever the case is, like the weaker characters. I was having a conversation with my friend, and he told me that he basically enjoyed Neon Genesis Evangelion, but he's like, I swear to God, if I could just delete Shinji, the show will be perfect. Like he could not stand him, but he reminds me of Pat in the way that Pat cannot stand characters that are starry-eyed, idealist, and naive. He can't stand characters that are just basically bitch-made, if that makes sense, or whatever the case. You know? Mm-hmm. So I was wondering if you guys thought those type of characters were inherently bad. Because honest to God, I don't even hate Shinji. I don't. He's kind of annoying, but I understand why he's the way he is. His dad's kind of a dickhead.
I think it's his voice. If I was just reading it wouldn't. It's same thing with Gangster too. It's both of them. It's more about their voice acting, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But that little squeaky, oh my God, Ray! I'll be like, oh my God, I'm gonna like throw you through the window, dude. Like, stop. Just stop talking. Don't say nothing for the rest of the series. That should be killing me, son. Like if he had like a different voice,
Medusa, thank you for the follow. Keep going, sorry.
Like if you were narrating those lines, or Liz were narrating those lines, or whatever, like yeah, it wouldn't be the same emotionally, but I'd probably feel a lot better. I'd be like, yeah, this nigga feel like, so like this nigga beat my ass. Oh my God! So I think that's part of it more so than like his actions themselves. Because if you look at like his actions, understandable. Like he didn't want to fight. He being put up against this. He's fucking emotionally broken. His bar piece of shit. But it's just like when you hear him squealing and shit like that, I'd be like, you know what? Just get the fucking robot so I don't gotta hear you. That's how I'd be feeling. But no, I don't really hate those characters. I think I hate like sometimes the depending on what I'm reading, kind of like the longevity of that mindset. Like I always talk about this right for Ippo. Like that nigga won a belt. Why does he still act like that? Like that's a problem for me because it's just like when you reach a certain level, depending on what you're doing, or if you went through a certain amount of experiences, you should evolve most of the time. Not every story has to do this, but even if it's subtly, you should evolve. You shouldn't be making the same choices, be saying the same things as a person. Because that's just even though no matter how fictional the work is, that's just part of being like a person. You should evolve through your experience. We should not be the same in chapter 1 as we are in 250. You should still not be afraid of the same things if you already went through cycles of those things already. So while I don't have a problem with characters being weak or scared or anything like that, at some point we need to evolve that question, we need to evolve that theme, and we need to evolve that character. Wherever it may be. But go ahead.
I like both. Like, I really don't have an issue with freaking either or. Naturally, how hard it hits depends on the freaking story and the thing that story is trying to freaking tell. But yeah, I don't have an issue with freaking whiny characters, weak characters, scared characters. And I don't have an issue with freaking. Of course, I'm assuming we're talking about from the aspect of like the main character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I don't
for the
have
most
issue,
part.
Yeah, issue with more freaking stoic characters or more overpowered characters with freaking the MC. But I mean, I can understand why folk don't like weaker characters or whatnot. It really just not an issue to me, like at all. I know if people love to freaking.
I'm gonna be back. My bad. Go ahead, yo. I'm gonna be back. I'm taking out the track.
Your thing, brother.
I remember when freaking My Hero first came out, and everybody out the freaking wazoo was slandering freaking Deku. But I'm like, bro, I don't get it, man. I don't understand why y'all even slander him to begin with.
I mean, I don't relate to him, but I just did it to be a dickhead.
I mean, well, we know about you.
What is that supposed to mean?
The story starts with him in middle school, and you have a world where everybody is extraordinary, and you the only man who's not even a little bit, and you idolize the most extraordinary person in the country. Why the fuck would you not be freaking sad and crying? I would be fucking crying. Damn, what the fuck? Like, it is. I don't know, man. Like, he is young. He's in a world where freaking everybody but him could do shit. He feels isolated and alone and whatnot.
He's also very brave, so.
Yeah, but we're not even gonna talk about it. We're just talking about his initial, how he came off initially, because folk was slandering him.
But I'm saying he showed that bravery in the first episode / chapter when he saved Bakugo. That's what I'm saying.
Right? And it's like, yeah, I'm like, son, freaking, I totally understand where he's coming from. I feel for him. Like, you telling me every single person in my country got powers, but I don't? Are you kidding me?
Who do you think you are? I am.
And the one thing that I want to be, I cannot be, because man is not born equal. Son, I would be depressed, but I would be in my room crying. What the fuck? So, characters like that, I have no issue with them at all. And I don't have issue with moral characters either. So it's really obnoxious to me when I see folk slandering fucking characters or whatnot. And it's even more obnoxious when y'all then freaking flip the switch. Because this is not saying that you can't change your opinion. The point I'm trying to make is, when you make it a point where your whole personality is revolving around slandering a fucking character left and right in the mud, you're not giving them no type of nothing, then all of a sudden when they finally do get their quote-unquote character or character development and they become a more better person in your eyes, now they're good, get the fuck out of my face. The boat already long gone.
Yeah.
Empty.
That's so shallow, surface level. Not that I'm saying you can't do that. I'm just saying I don't buy it. That's basically what I'm saying. If you shit like that, so yeah, I feel it. He's not an edgy self-insert. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Again, listen, I actually like characters like Shinji, because like Simi said, it makes sense. Like as long as it makes sense. Like I may not vibe with it personally. You do like honestly, this might sound fucked up, but like Suda is the most egregious version of this to me because he gets bad grades too. Like boy. You can't be getting 0 out of whatever, bro. 0? So no good Suda. I like Suda, but I'm just saying like damn. But like no, I'm gonna hit it. Like it's one of those things. Like I could never tell you what kind of character I'm gonna like. It just depends on execution and what happens in there. I don't relate to Deku. I don't really vibe with Deku. I don't think he's a bad character. Nor do I think the way that he is like doesn't make sense. I think it makes sense. But at the end of the day, I always respect characters like him and like Usopp because they're actually brave. I don't think fearlessness is courageousness. If you're fearless, you probably got a couple of screws loose. You don't really understand the concept of feeling fear. But if you actually get scared, but you're trying to fight through that and overcome it, to me, that's real courage. Shout out to Zeppeli. That's what he said. And I fucking agree with that. I'll never forget that. He said, what's holding his wine in his hand, talking about, do you know what real courage is? A fly is not courageous. He does not know what he's doing. I'm like, oh, hold on, he's spit. Send a wave kick. So, yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say what everybody else basically, but yeah, I really don't mind. I don't mind. First of all, I don't hate. I actually more like these kind of characters than I do hate them because, you know, obviously it ends up on execution, but there's not inherently, nothing inherently wrong, like as everybody's basically been saying, and it's just like I know we're all rawness merchants, right? In here.
To an extent, my thing is right when I usually think of a rawness merchant, I don't like oh he just overpowered for the sake of being overpowered.
You talking about soul leveling?
Yeah, yeah.
Nah, but like
I like characters that fucking like he's raw because he just say cool shit and he just get shit done.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, but like you know, like, but this is a tweet I said, seen that I kind of agree with. Just because somebody's raw doesn't mean they're like good, you know, they're not well written or like they're not a good character. Just because somebody's raw doesn't mean they're good. They're a good character, and I agree with that. Like, you know, it's kind of like it's almost like either way. It's kind of easy to make a. I'm not gonna say easy, but it's kind of like it's not the hardest thing in the world to make a raw ass character and to make a whiny like like a weak character, but doesn't mean the whiny character is like somehow worse than the raw character. And yeah, and it's just how honestly at the end of the day, it's just how it's executed, and I just don't really mind. Like I don't have a venom hate for these kind of characters. I have other types of characters that I can't stand, but yeah.
Yeah. How do I feel about Rock from Black Lagoon? I like Rock. No problem with my guy. He cool.
Yeah, Rock cool.
Yeah, he's cool. He has a problem with me. I mean, obviously he was just like a regular salary man, and he got roped into what he was in.
Yeah.
But the thing about him is like, okay, so let's say there's a series where most conflicts get solved by like fighting, right? So Simi. He got super speed. Vince got the the gadgets and everything. Fucking Lizard got pyrokinesis, and I'm the tech guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can't feel a fucking punch, but when you need me on that intercom to get you out, extraction, I'm there. You feel me? As long as you have a role, it's fine. Like I feel like Rock has an established perfect role. You know what I'm saying? Him and Revy, I'm talking about, yes sir. So and honestly he exudes rawness when he needs to, even if he's kind of bluffing.
And basically that's my thing. Like he's just not like somebody who is like a coward. Like when he first got thrown into the situation, it was super fuck. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. He was struggling. But once he never really fully got used to it. But once he was in the situation, he made the best out of it. He made sure that he wasn't like a complete burden. That's really all it is for me. Even if you got a character, like sometimes this can come off as kind of corny, but I still like it. Like Tokyo Revengers before they fucking just milked the shit out of it for a while. Like that nigga, the main character, you probably could consider kind of like he never really learned how to fight. But it's like once he started standing up for himself and started trying to fight back in his own way, I was just like, okay, cool. Like I'm good with that. Like, yeah, I don't need the god to be like cool as a cucumber. Like I prefer characters like that, but I don't really like those guys like in the main character role either, because just because the character's rawness and swag, or just because the character's cool, it does not mean that they inherently make the series better. Because if the character was like that, the series wouldn't be nearly as interesting. Anytime you have a main character, I can't say almost anytime, but normally at almost every story that I've seen, the main character needs some type of flaw. They need something to be able to make up for, or be take advantage of if you have a villain or something like that.
Yeah, and Rock with the same thing. Like when like earlier when he brought up Deku, I said like really early, you actually learn. You can see how courageous Deku is because he just moved to help save Bakugo. Rock, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I revisited it. When he got kidnapped and everything, and they were like, "All right, come back," type beat. Wasn't he like, "Yo, fuck y'all gonna let me die? Fuck you!" Like he exhibited that rawness off the rip. I'm like, yeah, I messed with him. He said, "Nah, leave me here, bitch ass niggas," and I was like, "All right, he cool." So yeah, go ahead. After this, we I don't know. We'll do the anime thing. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just also gonna add, like, in a way, like these kind of characters, when they like had their cool moment, it kind of hits harder, right? Like that disconnect of seeing like the courageous guys stand up for themselves.
Yeah, yes.
If it's executed well, it hits really well, because you don't expect it from these kind of characters.
I remember you said this about Gintoki, and I agree with this. I have a strong preference for a lot of characters that kind of act goofy or not serious, whatever, and they're kind of like get clowned on. But when it's time for them to say some real shit or do some real shit, they handle it. Gintoki's in that realm. I like characters like that. But all right, let's get to this final topic, and then we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna premiere this on Wednesday. But all right, anime misconception. Where do you think? I mean, the question kind of answers itself, but we'll just get it. We'll hash it out. We'll break it down. But where do you think the misconception of like having a lot of money or budget equates to good animation? Like, why do a lot of people they'll say, "Oh, this One Piece episode was bad, but this 2-minute scene, they put the entire budget into the episode." Where people I could be like
flashy lights, people like a lot of movement, people if it's under a studio that they normally have a good experience with, and those are my three things. There you go.
But why do they just be like money? Oh, yo, this scene was sick. Yo, they put the whole budget in there. I'm like, so fuck the person who actually did the cut. You don't know how many people equate higher quality with money. I mean, that's kind of fair, and that's why I said it kind of answers itself. I just never really understood it because it's just like, bro, what happened to the actual individuals doing this? Like, they'll see like a scene from somewhere and be like, yo, this scene was good. I'm like, bro, you had like Tate to Shimada to this, like all the best in-house animators in Toei went back to back with 30-second cuts, right?
People don't look at those things like that, though. I mean, you can even argue that for like the video games y'all play. You and Simi, y'all can speak more definitely about like, oh, these people were on the project and this, that, and the other. But most people just look at it just like, oh, Nintendo made that, and then you group it all together as like the company itself. But it's like, yeah, it's like there are individuals behind that making that shit happen.
I don't know, cause like it isn't, cause like with me, like I'm always more interested in the talent and the production, the pre-production, and leadership and this stuff like that. Like, yeah, we did speak about this in the other podcast a little bit, but what I'm saying is that one thing that will always usually make or break your show is the pre-production schedule. Setting things up to what's going to happen while it is airing and you're still making episodes. Who are you sending? Who are you outsourcing to? Who gets this scene? Who's the background animators? Who's foreground? Who's character models? Who's doing 3D, right? All that stuff. And it's like, what about the actual person themselves who made the scene? So fuck what they did. You just threw money at them and all of a sudden their stats went from 1 to 10? No, they're a good animator. Where the fuck I threw the whole budget at this scene, made the scene good? No. Do you know how many great anime had incredible budgets and actually looked terrible? And then y'all loved the first season of One Punch Man. That had an average anime budget. But you know what happened? They had a great fucking team.
But people don't. We don't highlight that as a society, looking at individuals, so it doesn't get put in that light. Like, as I've grown up and as I've talked to like people like you and Simi, I've grown to more appreciation for stuff like that. Or I go to, as I've gotten older, I've gone to like, okay, who did that? Like, I get more interested. But most people, they just kind of look at the surface level of it, because the people who do a lot of that work, it's kind of a thankless job. You're behind the scenes. You get paid, you do it, but they're thinking the business itself or the company itself rather than individuals. Like, a lot of people are not looking at that and going, like I said, thinking of it as individuals. They're looking at it as a whole group effort. It's like I said, it's a thankless job. You're not looking at individuals.
So I got two things to say. I think it's, as someone who freaking used to actually say that stupid shit, I think I might be able to shed some bit of light, but I think it's two things. I think both of them are subconscious. And Gulad is the one who brought up the first thing. I really blame freaking Western media, right? Because most of the people who we see, speaking our language, English, they are Westerners. They may not necessarily be from America, but they still reside on the western side of the globe, right? And whenever a movie comes out, what do you hear? How much money it took to make the movie, right? Type B. Even if you're not a movie head or anything like that, you already know that how much movie it took. What the fuck, man? How much money it took to make the movie and whatnot. So you already have that you already subconsciously have that in your mind, growing up around that money equates to freaking better special effects, freaking better action scenes, better explosions, better environment, better props, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I think it's an Ouroboros effect. Snake endlessly eating itself. Mm-hmm. You'll get into a medium.
I gotta help myself. Sorry.
You get into a community, right? You're brand new to this shit, and you see literally everybody say the same shit over and over again. They put the budget in this, they put the budget in that, they put the budget in this, they put the budget in that. You just naturally start fucking saying that shit. I'm speaking from experience. I used to say that shit,
mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even on no purpose, nothing. It's just when you see other people talking about it, the general thing that you see in is them saying that. So you just start repeating it. If you don't do any research, you don't look up anything, you see everybody saying that, you're just okay, well, whatever. That's just the way it is. Then type B, So I think those two things subconsciously, on top of the fact that we live in a very anti-research era, but I'm not even going to talk about that. Yeah. Those two subconscious things put together puts this whole freaking trope up, or I should say stereotype of, they put the whole budget in that. You votable got it. They fucking they avoid their taxes. They gonna put the whole money in that type B. Mm-hmm. Instead of actually thinking about the individual people who freaking drew all of these freaking frames and the people in the fucking studio and whatnot. I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, they get that with the taxes. Go ahead, Lizard. Yeah, I want to say.
I mean, people in the chat and you guys basically made the point. It's just it's more like a capitalistic point of view of where they think money means better. Like, it's not even entertainment. You can be like, this $1 million Lamborghini is obviously better than this, $20K Honda Civic from 2010, right? And
don't
so
know shit
it's
about
just
cars.
conditioned into their.
I don't even know
Man,
that.
look at you with the car now.
I don't know nothing about cars. That sounded right though.
That did sound right. That's crazy. But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Like, they're basically. I mean, I can't blame them because it's just how thing is. It's just conditioned. Like people are just conditioned to believe that the more money you put into something, the higher quality you can expect from it, right?
Yeah,
Like if you,
I feel like we've seen enough failures to know that's not the truth though.
but
That's
it's
what
just
I'm
like-
saying. But go ahead.
I guess, but like people just chalk it up to, it's kind of funny because that's when they use the whole staff thing. When something fails, you'd be like, oh, it's because the staff wasn't good. But when it succeeds, it's more like the money, like, oh, like this 500 thing that cost this movie budget, right, for 100 million, but it only sold like the box office was like 10 million. So that's obviously a failure, right?
Yeah.
That's when they'll say, oh, it wasn't because of the money, it was because of the director and how he used the money. Meanwhile,
they spend it. Okay. Fair.
and meanwhile, it's kind of I want to say it's like the opposite for like when something succeeds, they're quick to just say, yo, it's because of the money they had. I mean, obviously they'll give props, but like
Barely.
barely, but you know what I mean. Like I'm trying to be nice to them, but like like it's just conditioned into them to think that money equals quality, which
That's
is
why I
not
said
the
it's an
case.
infinite freak. It's the snake eating itself infinitely. You know, it's a cycle.
Like when
Yeah,
you're
you-
alive.
You see freaking everybody else saying the same exact thing without batting an eyelash, and you think, okay, well, whatever, that's just the way it is. And you start saying that, and then you contribute to that, and then more people come in, and then so on and so forth. And on top of the whole money equals better gimmick ingrained into fucking everything, nobody cares to freaking think outside of that. And on top of niggas not wanting to freaking being allergic to Google.com.
We're in digital era too, man. I don't understand this.
Yeah, it's a freaking headache. It's a giant headache. Like, no matter how many times a Dragon Ball fan will tell you there is no such fucking thing as Dragon Ball Z. The whole series is called Dragon Ball. Doesn't matter if Goku was a fucking embryo, a kid, a teenager, an adult, dead in the grave, a ghost. It's all
That's where he's been like all those things at some point. I'm weak. Go ahead.
Oh man, freaking, it doesn't matter. It's all called Dragon Ball, but the fact that everybody just called that shit, oh, when Goku was a kid, it was called Dragon Ball, when Goku was an adult, Dragon Ball Z, they're gonna keep saying that, right? And it's an endless fucking cycle. So, I really just feel like,
You said Google fraudulent. You checking one source, you hate to see it.
Bingo.
You're a rookie. You said Bing. I use Bing. Yahoo search. There you go.
freaking, they just see everybody saying one thing, they don't question it, and they're like, all right, let's go, let's get it, let's go. That's it. I mean, dude, that was a, what I'm saying brings up a very good blank, but I can't bring it up because blank. That's crazy. That's real fucking crazy. Dang. I love it here. But yeah, man, it's really fucking annoying. It's a huge headache. And I feel for everybody who fights on that fight. Dragon Ball fans, you with this, so on and so forth. Me with fucking Fate in general. Just having to deal with these stupid ass misconceptions just simply based off the fact that the general mass is saying it and nobody gives a fuck to even do like 1 second of research. It's so mind-numbing. And if you see yourself up against the world, you just like, all right, man, what the fuck ever. And you just fucking give up. It's tiring, honestly.
Yeah, like it just yeah, they just wanna, I mean, I'll just call it out, they're just too, they don't really care at the end of the day. They'll just say
They're just talking to talk. Yeah.
Basically, they don't really, like, if you actually care and like, it's a series.
Oh, Google is fraudulent. Stadia? Fair.
Like, I don't know, they'll just say it because it's just easy to like make a thing. Like, I don't know, somebody brought Ufotable, right? Let's just say Ufotable. Ufotable, a better budget is better. Like, I don't know. Yeah, they're just being lazy and they really don't care. Like, I feel like if you care about the series, you'll be more likely to. But yeah.
Yeah. But with that being said, all right, Pure Life. I'm about to end it now, anyways. But later, take care.